Hi there. For today's action project, we're going to talk about what's a grade. We all know there are 5-letter grades: A, B, C, D, F. Not sure where E went, but that's for another time and place and project. Now we know we have all these letter grades, but there's a little issue. In Clark County School District, we have 363 schools, which means there's 18,302 teachers who are possibly doing it slightly different for the 320,400 students. So we might need to take a look at what's going on in all these places with all these people who supervise and assess all these students. So it's become pretty obvious that it's possible we might have some disparities and discrepancies in grading practices at the district, sites, different grade levels, subjects, and teachers. And this might be creating a problem for students, parents, teachers, and everyone to consider what exactly is a grade nowadays. So, for the purposes of this project, in order to impact change, you have to understand where things currently are at. What is the status quo? So we decided to do an inventory of all of the teachers' syllabus that might give us an idea about their grading weights, categories, and percentages, and also to understand their philosophy of grading. What is it exactly they're looking for and trying to reflect in an individual grade? It's also important to get feedback from individuals who might influence change and have ideas about what you should be doing. So I decided to interview the school's academic manager. I also had the unique opportunity of talking to a school board member from California who was a former teacher herself, because that sort of gives you an idea of having her been in the classroom, what she thought, and now sitting on the other side as a school board member, what did she see as patterns and trends in grading practices? So the question really is, why has this become important? Well, grades should represent the same measurements for all students, and we're all supposed to be responsible to teach students to master the same standards. However, what we're finding is when students are coming into the middle school environment from a variety of different elementary schools, an A in one school is not the same as an A in another school. So when you think a grade is representing mastery in a certain subject area, actually it's just representing whatever the teacher decided was an A. And with the implementation of Infinite Campus, we're finding the problems are magnified because most teachers don't even know how Infinite Campus is actually calculating the grades today. And there's a huge disparity at that point between an A in one teacher's classroom for 5th grade and the teacher next to them in the next classroom teaching a different 5th grade class. So for the annotated bibliography, I decided to look at first Clark County School District's grading policies and kind of informally compare it to the process that other school districts and schools have used across the United States to try to address the concerns of disparities in grading and how did they kind of navigate that process. Looking at Clark County School District's grading policies was somewhat interesting. What it really didn't say was a whole lot. It says grades will be computed for each student in relation to established relevant objectives. It gives you letter grades that each one is 10% increments. And it kept saying that grades should be reflective of achievement on assignments and assessments. What it doesn't tell you is what should be an assignment or an assessment. How much should each assignment or assessment be weighted in the grade, or what different grading categories can or cannot be used.
So, for my action project, I decided to do a different type of research. I wasn't necessarily interested in other people's research. I kind of wanted to do my own. I wanted to see if there were any other school districts or possible schools that had developed common grading practices. So I first tried to find school districts like Clark County, but I learned pretty quick from the National Center for Education Statistics that when you're the 5th largest in the United States, there's not a lot like us. But I still kept referencing them every time I looked up a new school district to see what they were like. So, I dug and dug. I found school board minutes, I found memorandums, I found policy manuals, grading guidelines, teacher guides. I even found newspaper articles that reported the process of coming up with common grading plans. And here was some of the bottom line that I saw, is the process was really labor intensive. There were a lot of different stakeholders involved, starting with the students, parents, teachers, administrators at both the site and the school district level. Then you had school districts, school boards that had to write policies and regulations. And then there were even times when state legislatures, like in the case of South Carolina, had to step in because they weren't happy with how the school districts had come up with common grading plans. And in the end, every common grading plan I found was entirely different from one state to one county to one school district. They were all monumentally different. But looking at the type of research and process, I found sometimes coming up with common grading processes and plans took 3 to 5 years. So that's what the research fundamentally showed me. And what it showed me more than anything was it's going to be a really long time before I see a common grading plan anywhere in Clark County. Okay, so what on earth did I possibly learn from this action project and all of this endless research? Well, here's what I learned. You're going to have to be a transformational leader to make any kind of change on your campus. It does take being both a manager and a politician. Every stakeholder needs to be listened and considered and validated for the opinions they have. Everyone at my site has a lot of different ideas about grading, and a lot of it's rooted in their philosophies, and to be quite honest, some of them don't seem to make a whole lot of sense anymore. When you go for the staff with any kind of idea, you need to be able to explain how you came to that decision. What's the why? Where's the golden circle? Because the only way people will ever have a buy-in is if it makes sense to them. And it may not happen overnight. It's a really long process. The process begins with just understanding what's currently going on. Then you have to understand all the options available and what's in the best interest. And here's the truth. It probably will never be a district-wide grading plan, but we can only try so hard to at least be consistent on our level. And you take baby steps. It's going to be leading your staff and implementing these strategies, and guess what? You're going to have to monitor that they do it. Because I opened a lot of grade books, and they don't match the syllabus at all, which was kind of disappointing. And at the end of the day, we're really trying to give parents tools to understand if their children are really being successful. And most people don't even realize is colleges are depending on us when they admit students, that grades actually reflect something that they've learned. So at the end of the day, I know I have a long way to go to be a transformational leader, but at least I have a better understanding that it's going to be a lot of hard work, and I'm willing to give it a try.
This project report was brought to you by the letter E, because clearly we still don't know where it went in the normal grading scale. And here are some of the sources that I cited and mentioned in this report and dialogue in case you're really interested.